Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Twilight Prepper. It's been a while since I've been posting. I tried to get back into it and everything else, and even set up a schedule, but I will be honest, the knives have came out. Life is always about danger, and you have to watch her out wherever you're going to. I've had everything in the world thrown at me, computer programs, most of them have been taken off. There's a lot of situations that came up with some World War II stuff since we're in the last phase of its reconstruction and the finality of it. I found that the Green Brigade is alive and well and has more money than whatever it was with King Midas and everything else. Maybe I'll be sending that in and everything else. Granted, they've cashed out a lot of it and ended up buying most of the situation around the USA if they could at a fire sale, shall we say. And with it, they've been infiltrating a lot of the main situations and some other stuff that I was going to turn in. Just sitting around, and I keep trying to get to turning it in. There's groups that are affiliated with the World War II situation that are pulling money out of the Monex and everything else. And when I came upon this little tidbit of information with a little help from some other prepper YouTube people putting some things together with some phone calls with people that are just a little bit too loud in public. And yeah, they owned a restaurant just like the Italian Mafia. And all of a sudden all the employees are gone and changed over, and they go, that's just because our kids like dark-headed women. Because there's always a few of them you get pregnant there every like 6 or 12 months. And then they changed the little room that they did the whole thing in that sometimes they let me sit in because, I don't know, I guess they like me for some reason. It's old nostalgia, but you know, I'm old and my stuff's kind of going away a little bit. But just in saying, I've had a hit and run accident in December in the middle of the interstate with nothing around, and all the cars just all of a sudden sped up to about 80, 90 miles an hour, even the big semis, and I was like, they really took off after that hill. Nobody's around me or anything else. If I hadn't had a trailer hitch on my car, just like others I knew in the 1980s, they'd have flipped over and the car would have driven into the windshield, got me, and the car always backs out and drives away. Police ruled it as unidentifiable in any form or fashion. And even when I mentioned that, you know, if you want to take it, since it's totaled, let the kids go over it and everything. We don't do that. Grad students or anything, you know, for free car labor. I've also had some possibilities of the worst case of flu ever, and I thought I had a heart attack. Just found out today, about 2 hours ago, a cousin of mine went to the hospital with a heart attack. Granted, you know, there's extenuating circumstances, and I'm going, shouldn't say you're my cousin when you're really not. I will say on just saying that I do watch Canadian Prepper, and he's talking about the upcoming Civil War and the upcoming situations of World War III. There's some stuff that was in there that was also things that I just wanted to go, did I really see that on the news? I know I've got the weird hearing where it's like, you know, the number 4 to like 6, I can't really hear it anymore, but that like number 1 to number 3, you go, did he really say that? And you rewind it onto instant replay or something else, and it's like, he really said that on the news? I mean, and this is like something that's on all the channels. I mean, we had the election, okay, everything's going to be all this, and in a way, people are talking a little too slow. People are being very pronunciated in their words, like Kamala. We all just need to go to sleep and wait for our time. That was said by basically the leader of the Democratic Party, since the president no longer rejects his party status for bipartisanship in presidential authority. Okay. That being said, a little while later, around Jan 6th, Dana Perino, I'm sorry if I mispronunciated the name, on Fox News, very well-known, accomplished actor, said we all just need to go to sleep. Those two polarizing situations where it's like, they're powerful people. Even if they're just going, I don't want violence to happen. I'm trying to control this as best as I can from my platform. Okay. They've heard about something, they're not able to take it out. Whatever it is, the legislation, the court punishment system of removing it and saying that it's not USA or is not there. And the president, since it can't be defined as domestic or foreign, the executive branch can't do anything. So there is something majorly moving in the USA. Something beyond anything that we can really look at. And that they've basically found what is sleeper cells on both sides of this situation that they can't really control and are just kind of like, through my celebrity niceness, kind of like Colin in middle school, give or take, 5 years, maybe a little bit into Walmart after high school. We just all need to feel good and we can get along together. I remember Reginald Denny being drugged from a truck and beaten senseless, just like Rodney King was. Which, weirdly enough, I'm preparing a paper to send in to the Library of Congress and see where it goes to from there, since it probably won't ever make it anywhere. After copyright, I might decide to send it to one of my aforementioned Congress people, or even possibly the Supreme Court, since there's so much there that they could look at. In saying that, with a foreign situation, while yes, Ukraine is absolutely going crazy, we're doing a rare earth minerals deal. This is over the top, an insane moment. We will go to war over rare earth minerals. And the way that they're trying to do the tariff situation, you can say Trump back down. You can say the others back down. We can't bring Canada in as the 51st state. There is no physical way that we could do that. Greenland, maybe. But due to the fact that Canada already has its own state and provincial system, similar like us with territories of America Samoa to Guam to Puerto Rico and our states, we'd have to bring in each individual part of Canada to the United States of America, like Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Prince Edward's Isle, and so on. Even the Yukon Territory would still, under our laws, have to remain a territory. So there's this whole thing with him saying Canada is going to be the 51st state. Basically is him looking at it going, do you know how many jobs are lost to Canadians that come over and want to wait our tables and work our construction things simply because of that, as well as like trucker jobs and other stuff like that? It's not what you think is happening. So with all that being said, I do have to bring in the simple fact that this is more of a saber rattling for Canada and Mexico to beef up their own military. We're not going to annex Canada. I mean, we would love to have Greenland just for, outright purchase it and just say, well, we have something there in case the eastern seaboard, and this is the worst case scenario, Washington, D.C. is obliterated by a nuke weapon or some sort of massive, catastrophic laser situation. They just come in there and are on a suicide military mission and just violate the 50 miles and full steam ahead, boom, shock and awe, release whatever they got, and take out Washington, D.C. to see what our main defense weapon systems are that the world doesn't know about it, and crash them in basically to the Potomac Harbor and other stuff as close as they can get, and then detonate their nuclear engines. Whether it's a dirty bomb or whatever. There's the whole situation that you would be looking at with it. And yeah, there would be some air sorties with it that would probably go down quick. But, these pilots know, as soon as you get in there and it's like there's a lock or anything, drop everything you got and let it just go to whatever it is over any lock and pull down on the trigger and empty all your cartridges and go in low and dump your fuel and crash into something. With that being said, over it, there's a lot of new scenarios that look at groups having a way of attacking the USA. And this is also coming up with, let's say, this one clip from Biden that was on Fox News, and I watched it on another one, and it's like the mouth does line up with it. Everything went along with it. And this is when he visited the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is a place where Obama had some major issues with an African country. That basically, while we were in Afghanistan and Iraq, they went to war with almost all of the rest of Africa. And basically did a lot of border rewriting. And you could say there was possible ethnic cleansing. We didn't really cover that because we were in a war. We are technically the only group besides China that can go in and kind of say stuff over in Africa. Brazil can in a way, but here's another thing. If we're going to go World War III, they're putting stuff in Europe for more weaponry. Here's the wild card that no one's looking at. Obama, when he went there, basically used up every Secret Service international situation and the CIA. We had Snowden defect. We had all this other stuff go on across the board. And yeah, you could say the Snowden defection was something that they planned and pushed in order to have civilians be more responsible for their own cybersecurity. Okay, that sounds interestingly great. In a way, it's something that happens, and then it's something that doesn't. And the Snowden family is connected to a bunch of World War II Italian families from Reconstruction that they've never really played up, and they all stationed them here around Oak Ridge for the most part. That's why it's like, yeah, I've met Snowden I think 2 or 3 times. Pretty nice, charismatic individual, and that's what they were trained to do, was be super charismatic and get in with anybody they could. And there's all sorts of things. It's like, well, in 2 to 3 generations, due to genetics and him being with these people or these other people or having a kid here or there that will stage, they'll go back into their original family science. And that's just what will happen. That is conversations that I have been involved with. Now, under the Democratic Republic of Congo, when Biden was there and he had no way to defend himself, the Democratic Republic of Congo cannot do anything to anyone if they cannot have any defense to themselves. Basically, if they are a primitive situation, they cannot go after them. But as soon as they pick up a weapon, they'll shoot it. It's like Predator. Even though we have our own versions of that here amongst the Native Americans. In saying this, in no way am I trying to say that we are equal or anything else, because as soon as you do that, the two parts want to go at each other, and it's like, who has the flamethrower, basically. Seriously. This is what would actually come up if there is a World War III, is I think that there would be something where Europe and everything, if we're not out, goes to the Democratic Republic of Congo. In a way, I can go along with conspiracy theory that there's some advanced stuff more than latex. Let's put it this way. There is such a thing as a shot that uses DNA manipulation to rework a person. And it's mostly just topical DNA. A lot of people will describe it when you hear it in the conspiracy theory circles as topical DNA. We're going to have to go back to topical DNA. And this is something that was created in World War II, just before the invasion of Rome. And if you take this shot and you're not around certain situations of a specific, let's say, antivirus or how would we say this? It's going to sound so weird. You're a certain type of electronics that would disrupt it, since it's kind of got like a little protein oil basis. You can actually make oil dance with certain electronics. And the thing is that they could have used this down in Brazil. One of the guys who left down in Brazil, and you'd have to be into really Brazilian politics, went overseas and was there to help out everything starting at Rwanda and everything else, and basically has been there with his group of like aficionados, let's say, fighting in Africa as like one of the largest private security armies. And he's done it all legally. Then all of a sudden something happened to him, and they rumor it that he was around the border of the DNC. They weren't able to tell because of GPS situations. And whatever it is, whichever group got to him, switched him out with one of these old seer states. These kind of like terror cells that the Pope can't identify and can't recognize because they're completely exiled from every cult system in everything. And after 1,000 years, they used up all of their abilities. So with this, they replaced this guy, and only under a certain types of situations where he's came back around cell phones and the burgeoning technology in Brazil, they went out and how do you say this? They sent him in, and he went in and reconquered a lot of the Brazilian politics, let's say. And there's this big, huge change when Tucker Carlson went there. Again, this person that went there and went on the other side of everything supposedly worked in the local area, supposedly used some of these situations a little bit more, and used some other types of nanotechnology to interrogate people. It's supposedly what they use in that big hive mountain with 1 micron chips. And they infected these soldiers, and it basically like slightly hamburgered their nervous system till they could get what they wanted, and left them screaming like Gollum. This is also connected to the money from the Monex that went out there, because with 10% being pulled out, that's still the cheapest place to do any type of medical research, bio research, or anything else, is Central Asia. It's also the most isolated and the most bang for your buck, even if it's Russian rubles. They're also looking about setting up with this from the money that was from the Monex and everything to making an actual factory for weapons, for tank barrels, as well as that which can be changed over to fuselages for rockets that the Houthis are using, which is very interesting because the Houthis are very connected to the seer states. And this brings more terrorism possibilities back to Rome, Italy. Just saying, about the same climate band, if it's all about climatization for the human genome species, that's there. The things the Democratic Republic of Congo said to Biden in this situation has started a lot of my crazy brain thinking. And I will say, on the other side of the Brazilian politics, with the president that was in, that Tucker did, let me just add this in, I know I'm everywhere with this, but a lot of his body doubles got replaced by this one guy that did these things that I was part and parcel to as a 2 or 3 year old in Market Square. Watched this guy do this, and he said through tip money and his group of like basically pizza delivery people, he would be able to, and I was poisoned by a group of these people because I did not give them 50% tip. Everybody knows that one little group, and it's like, oh, they say stuff about you gotta give them 50% tip. They gotta have premium pay. And they always show up in this whole area, and they basically pull their resources to go to a place with 6 to 1 on the dollar and do a lot of messing around in it. And then they have a place like Ukraine that they jockey the currency back and forth when it jumps from like 64 to 1 to 32 to 1 in a little small amount of time. Just in saying this, you're going to say it's really far-fetched. And then all of a sudden this guy who basically doesn't know anything about Brazil and has only been in Africa comes into Brazil from basically closest country to it is DNC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Oh, I'm sorry, DRNC. Some people mess it up on the thing and go, oh, I thought that's what the abbreviation was, even to people in the news. Now, just in saying this is setting off a lot of like radars for me. The president was elected in a landslide and then he was thrown out. The president did have some things look a little bit different, and supposedly they used the knife wound that he had in the almost assassination attempt when he was running to mess with him biochemically. Once you get into 1 micron chips, you can do that real easily. Once you come back over, and then there was a bunch of others that came over, and it's like, oh, there's no problem in Brazil, and there's 1 or 2 people that I've known that were in the Brazilian Senate and stuff, and oh, there's no real problem there. It's all real good. We're just we were just going over there, and a lot of people a lot of times come over from Africa, and they make these settlements over in the rainforest. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. You know, it's all good. Just the way that they said those words and went on about it, that's about as quick as a direct quote as I can do here over it. And then a few of the people that they showed later on some footage that I was able to find, I really do look at them, and it's like the Nazis that are from Africa, they're a real tight-knit group. They really look a lot like them. They don't really look like the people down in the Democratic Republic of Congo that told Joe Biden, you stand over here, you don't ever stand with me. You lost all of your Jews, that's why you have no politics with Israel, and we know how to breed ours. In all of this, with us in World War II Reconstruction, my grandfather actually went through on the north side of the river. Nobody knows whatever happened to the people on the central or else like south side of the river. They're all supposed to meet up and basically head either towards Egypt or Central African Republic.